The Doom Turtle, America's only super heavy tank by the Fat Electrician.
Sometimes I like to read several books, get in contact with historians that are experts on the subject, and make a pretty serious video. And other times, I like to get completely unhinged and rant about some stuff that I think is funny. And by sometimes, I mean today.
Yeah. Right, which you should go check out his Fat Files channel because he does have rants over there as well. Wink, wink, look in the description.
Today we're talking about my favorite tank. Ladies and gentlemen, America's only super heavy tank, the T-28, aka the Doom Turtle.
Look at it, so cool. I love it.
Now, I said this is my favorite tank, which is a completely unquantifiable metric. Despite that, somebody in the comments is still going to tell me that I'm wrong. So if you think I should have a different favorite tank, go ahead and tell me about it in the comments below, and maybe I'll do a video about that one too. Okay, and just to be clear, when it comes
I don't know, what is it? The stupid duck one? I can't remember what it is. Oh, I'd have to think of it. I'd have to go find it. No, there's some really weird ones out there.
To me and things like tanks and planes and guns, favorite is not the best, it's not the most impactful, it's not the most historically relevant, it's just the coolest / dumbest one around, and in my opinion, this is it. So let's go ahead and get into this right after
the French one, yeah.
Awkwardly relevant word from our sponsors. This video is brought to you by War Thunder. They've got over 2,500 tanks, planes, and ships, pretty much every military vehicle from World War II until modern times, including all the cool, weird, and obscure ones that may have never even actually seen combat. For example, let's say that I wanted to be the T-28, aka the Doom Turtle, America's only super heavy tank. I can do that. Then I can go over to X-ray mode, look at all the different components, check out all the specs, actually learn about the tank. Then I can hop over and I can customize it. Because let's face it, I don't just want to be the Doom Turtle. I want to be the Doom Turtle covered in bushes so I can try to sneak up on the enemy like I'm a 200,000-pound Wile E. Coyote with a 105mm howitzer for a nose. Then we throw an American flag on one side and some smack talk on the other, and now we're ready to go play the game. Now, once we start playing, the cool part is that it's not like a lot of other games where you just shoot at the other enemy tank and a hit is a hit no matter where it lands. No, in War Thunder, you can take out individual components of the enemy tank. For example, let's say there was a guy on a mobile artillery piece and that one guy in particular was talking smack. You can address him individually. Or maybe you're approaching an enemy tank and you fire, but your shell doesn't get penetration, and now it takes a while to reload, so you just open fire with your 50 cal right through the window slit, giving their driver a nice metallic face high five.
Nice.
Then, once you get the gun reloaded, you can finish taking out the rest of the crew. Or sometimes you just get that lucky shot where the shell goes straight through the enemy tank and detonates their ammunition. And the best part about all of this is that it's free to play on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. So if you wanted to give it a try, we'll have a link and a discount code in the description down below, and when you use my link, you're going to get all kinds of freebies to get you started off on the right foot. Let's get back to the video.
No, I think that this is absolutely really good as a ad read. I think it was solid 8 out of 10 ad read. It started to drag a little bit about 3/4 through, but that's mostly just because of all the information that has to get, expunged is not the word I'm looking for. The information that he has to give out, or the information that he has to not necessarily read, but just get you up to speed on it. I thought it was good, though. I thought it was concise enough. Awesome. I liked it.
The Doom Turtle. It is a World War II era tank that was designed for one reason and one reason only, and that is to punch through the German Siegfried Line. If you don't know, the Siegfried Line is Germany's western border, where they have essentially tried to fortify it to make it impenetrable to the Allied forces approaching so that they can't break into Germany. It is approximately 400 miles of concrete pyramids known as Dragon's Teeth, making it so tanks and other Allied vehicles can't pass through. Then on the other side of the Dragon's Teeth, you typically had other things that were meant to stop foot soldiers like moats, barbed wire, booby traps, and on the other side of those,
they locked that border down.
18,000 bunkers with machine gun, mortar, and artillery positions that were going to, in theory, be able to mow down any ally trying to advance through those obstacles. Now, the American military and government knew about the Siegfried Line pretty much the entire time because German propaganda told them about it, and they portrayed it as completely impenetrable. So the American military in 1943 is like, okay, we're going to come up on the Siegfried Line eventually. Let's go ahead and get a plan in the works on how we're going to address it once we get there. Now, clearly, that plan should not rely on tanks, right? I mean, that's kind of the Siegfried Line's entire MO. It was designed, built, and implemented with the sole purpose of stopping tanks. We should probably do anything other than use tanks, right? Wrong.
No, not necessarily.
Wrong. American engineers got told the Germans built an impenetrable tank fortification, and they're like, fucking bet. We'll see about that. We're going to
Hold my beer. We got some people that can make this work. Okay, that makes a lot of... I mean, like, realistically, though, right? Would the Germans have seen that coming? Like, oh, well, they're just using a tank, right? And they expect maybe the Dragon's Teeth or something like that. I could see it being kind of like from a psychological warfare perspective, right? Where, say, for example, if you are, say, I don't know, doing cut and thrust in terms of like, swordplay, right? Like SCA, cut and thrust, like kind of heavy stuff, heavy armor stuff, and you bring like a little rapier, right? Or you just bring a dagger, right? It might catch them off guard a little bit. So if you're showing up to an anti-tank fortification, in a tank, right, it might actually catch them off guard just long enough that their response time is going to be longer than, say, if you showed up with some experimental non-tank option, right? I could see this absolutely being a thing from a few different perspectives here.
Build a bigger, better tank that's going to drive right fucking through it. So the engineers got to work. This is called the AT project, and what they came up with was, surely there's spots along the Siegfried line where the German military has a gap where they can drive their vehicles through, right? Has to be there. They can't just have 400 miles and they drive all the way around. There's got to be points where you can pass through it. And obviously those points of passage are going to be the most fortified positions, right? They're essentially going to make a fatal funnel, a choke point, where all of the Allied forces have to try to go through a narrow passageway, and on the other side, it's going to be loaded with German 88 anti-tank guns, German artillery, machine guns, mortars, everything. They're going to be able to slaughter anybody that tries to make it through that little tiny narrow passage. To which the American engineers are like, cool, obvious solution. We're just going to make a tank that can't die. Okay, it's going to be so heavily armored that there's no anti-tank weapon or artillery piece known to man that could kill it. Then we're going to put a gun on it that's so big that it can shoot through concrete bunkers and take out the enemy. We're literally going to drive this gigantic, heavily armored tank directly into the enemy choke point, stand there, take all their anti-tank fire, be untouchable, and then we're going to return fire and kill them first. Okay, do you understand how gangster that is? This is the ultimate dad dick maneuver. Just straight up like, I know exactly what your plan is. I know what you want me to do so that you can beat me. I'm going to do it anyways, and I'm still going to win because fuck you. So they made the Doom Turtle, the T-28, America's only super heavy tank. This thing is 36 feet long, 10 feet tall, and 14 feet wide. It has 12 inches of armor on the front, and it's weighing in at 95 tons. Okay, approximately 210,000 pounds. Okay, the human mind can't comprehend how heavy this tank actually is. It literally weighs as much as a blue whale, which also isn't helpful because most people haven't seen a blue whale. Okay, so it's like, what's my calculator? Toyota Corolla is like 3,000 pounds. Okay, it's like 70 Toyota Corollas, okay? This entire thing is like an entire parking lot got a gun strapped to it, and now it's coming to kill the enemy. Speaking of...
That's actually incredibly impressive, though. Like, that is a lot of just armor that is going into that. I wonder how what the engine on this is gonna like what's the, I mean, obviously you're not gonna get good gas mileage out of it, right? Like that's not the primary concern. I wonder how you keep this thing moving, though. I wonder just how the mechanics to actually keep this thing on that slow march forward are. I mean, it's sure, and once you show up, yes, it'll start rolling through defenses and stuffs, right? But well, it's getting there, right? Like, are you airdropping it in? Is it being constructed nearby? That getting it there logistically is something that, you know, you have to consider. And I'm sure he's going to get into it. It's just one of those things that, like, it's going to be slow. You are sacrificing mobility, maneuverability, anything like that for the sheer armor value that it has. And I can absolutely respect that. It's a very specialized tool, right? If you have some kind of rocket repelled hammer, right? You can only use it for certain projects. This is not dissimilar. This is not a hammer. This is not a screwdriver. This is a rocket propelled hammer that is good at hammering in very specific things. You have to get is the right tool for the job. It's getting it there, finding that use case that's going to be the issue.
Gun, they went with a 105 millimeter gun. Okay, that is field grade artillery. This is literally a howitzer that they strap to the front of this metallic blue whale.
Yeah,
okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you this thing is basically the Norwal of death. All right, which raises the question: why on earth did they go with the Doom Turtle and not the Norwal of death? Well, it's because this thing's slow as shit, which is really the downfall of this tank, because somebody basically said, hey, we're going to build a 200,000 pound tank, and then we're going to put the same V8 engine in it that the M4 Shermans have. Yeah, the Doom Turtle is rocking a 500 horsepower V8 Ford engine, okay? Just for the record, if you don't know much about engines or horsepower, Dodge is out here making minivans with 1,000 horsepower that weigh 5,000 pounds, and the DoD thought it would be a good idea to stick a 500 horsepower V8 inside of a tank that weighs as much as a blue whale. Okay, the Doom Turtle's coming at you at the speed of mock potato. Pedal to the metal, balls to the wall. This thing maxes out at 8 miles an hour. So
this is one of those, look, I'm over here, you're over there, but the moment I get over there, oh, God help you when I get over there.
Clearly, they're going to have to transport this thing all the way to the Siegfried Line, right? If they land this thing on a beach in Normandy and let it drive all the way across France, it's going to take like 3 years to get there.
Exactly.
This is actually why the Doom Turtle has that unique look of having 4 sets of tracks instead of just 2 very wide sets of tracks like a normal super
Weight
heavy
distribution
tank would. And that's because those 2 outermost tracks come off and separate from the Doom Turtle, allowing it to be easier to transport both because now the Doom Turtle isn't as wide and it comes apart in 3 separate chunks, making it all weigh significantly less than the original 95 tons. So they've got it all figured out. By 1945, they start manufacturing these things. Originally, they're planning on making 25 of them. They figure that'll be enough to punch through the Siegfried Line, but they build 2 prototypes first. So they get those prototypes built, then they're testing the first one, and the V8 engine that's trying to move 200,000 pounds obviously catches fire, burns out the entire inside of the tank. The entire thing is essentially a total loss. And
and that's a consideration, right? Absolutely. It just take, I don't know, like a Dodge 1500, right? Dodge Ram 1500, right? And you're just like, okay, but what happens if I add, 2,000 pounds of armor plating on it? Is that not going to make the engine work harder? Absolutely, it's going to make it work hard. What if you had 4,000, 10,000 pounds of armor plating on it, right? It's going to make it work harder, and it can potentially overwork the engine. So you have to design an engine or have an engine that is capable of dealing with that increased bulk, that increased weight. And that's not to even say, what about throwing off the center of gravity, right? If you have if you pull a 80s rock movie, right, and you have speakers on top of a truck, right, and you're standing on top of it, because even if you attach it to the truck, like, zip tie it, latch it on, right, is the center of gravity not going to be higher because there's stuff higher on there? If you have a bunch of armor plating, will that make the center of gravity lower? How's that going to interact with other functions of the vehicle, right? The tire is going to hold out. Are you going to replace your F-150 with, treads? These are all things that if you make a single change seemingly in a vacuum, it can have a knock-on effect towards other things on the design.
While that was going on, the Allied forces managed to penetrate the Siegfried Line. How on earth did they do that without the Doom Turtle, you ask? Well, A, the Siegfried Line wasn't really all it was cracked up to be, according to the German propaganda. It definitely was not impenetrable. It was undermanned. It just wasn't as good as it was made out to be. So they just went and they sent out recon, and they found a couple of spots where they weren't well covered by like artillery and machine guns and booby traps.
Right.
And then they just put a bulldozer out and pushed dirt over the top of the Dragon's Teeth and then drove right over the top, got behind enemy lines, and took everybody out. Yeah, the German...
They brought in a bulldozer and just did it. Man, I don't know. I feel you can make a commentary about how farmers could do this job in half as much time with probably twice as much beer or something like that. I don't know. Something about not being paid in money, but just being paid enough beer to make it happen, right? Oh, God. Defeated by dirt, foiled by soil.
And spent God knows how much money and man hours building this 400-mile stretch of concrete booby traps, and they got outdone by a couple of rednecks with a bulldozer.
Exactly.
So because of that, the Doom Turtle simply just wasn't needed anymore, so they stopped the project. There was one surviving prototype. They gave that over to Aberdeen Proving Ground, and they used that basically as a giant weight to test transportation equipment because, well, it was the heaviest tank they had, and if it could move the Doom Turtle, it could move anything else. So they used it for that for a little while. Then one day, somebody just parked it in a field, and everybody forgot about it. A little while after that, people...
Why does this... Wasn't there another thing that they did? It was the atomic cannons, right? Didn't they, do the same thing with that? What is this habit of just parking things in the field or just forgetting about things? It blows my mind.
Start asking questions. Historians, the public, museums, like, hey, where's that badass tank? We want to preserve it. We want to save it. It's a part of history. We want to stick it in our museum. Let me have it so I can take care of it. And the army is like, I don't know, bro. We lost it. Okay, now on one hand, to be fair, I'm pretty sure I know exactly how this happened. They just had a couple of dudes go park it. They made it take all day. They parked it off in a field. Those dudes retired. They left. They moved on. And then nobody remembered where it got parked. Okay, I'm sympathetic to that. I understand how it happened. But on the other hand, how the fuck do you lose a 200,000-pound tank that there's only one of? I would understand if you were like, oh, hey, we misplaced a Sherman tank because America made 50,000 of them, right? But no, this isn't a Sherman tank. It's twice the size of a Sherman tank, and there's only one of them, okay? You could park it in a parking lot full of tanks, and you would still be able to find it. How on earth did you manage to lose a blue whale with a gun attached to it, okay?
Dude, where's my car? Where's your car, dude?
Where's your car?
Where's my car?
So that's it. It's just gone. It's MIA for the next 27 years. Nobody has any clue where this thing is at. And then one
How much of an earful do you, I mean, okay, like I've heard, like, if you don't turn in your rifle, you don't turn in your stuff in the military, right? You get an earful from what command chain of command, your superior officers, right? You get an earful. You lose the heaviest tank the U.S. has, and there's only one of it. Who's getting yelled at? I need to know who's getting yelled at. Who's getting paperwork thrown at him?
Some hunter is out in the woods near a military base hunting, and he's like, hey, there's a fucking tank sticking out of those bushes.
Sneak 100.
Dude, there's your car.
Yeah, you guys thought I was being silly earlier with that War Thunder ad, didn't you? When I stuck a couple of bushes on this giant tank and pretended like that was going to conceal it. Well, history.
I'm going to be honest. That makes the ad read like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 material because it tied into this. That's how you do an ad read. Tie the ad read into your content. Fat Electrician, thank you. Thank you for being the bar for good ad reads.
He's on my side now because this bitch was incognito for 27 years.
27
because it
years.
had a couple of bushes on it. What now? So the hunter goes to the army. He's like, I found this weird looking tank in the bushes. And they're like, oh shit, we've been looking for that thing. So the army then takes the tank. They give it to a museum in Fort Knox. So it's on display there for a little while. And then they decide that they're going to move it from Fort Knox to Fort Benning or Fort Moore Freedom, whatever the fuck it's supposed to be called now. The home of the infantry. They decide they're going to move it to the infantry museum at the home of the infantry. So they throw it on the HET trailer, the heavy equipment trailer, and they tow it all the way to Georgia. While they're towing it there, apparently they take a turn too hard and it breaks the chains off the HET trailer, and the entire main cab of the tank flies into the ditch. Now,
someone's getting yelled at. Someone's getting yelled at. Okay, there was probably some sort of meeting, and somebody probably got yelled at for losing it for 27 years just outside of the base in a bunch of bushes, right? Okay, there's probably a meeting about that. If I, at least as from a civilian perspective, if something stupid like that happened, say, I don't know, working at a bank or a store, bro, there'd be a meeting about that. All I'm saying, it's not just an email. We need everyone on this conference call ASAP, right? So there was a meeting about that. And now they just... It's just in it. Oops, accidentally in the ditch. Oh no. Oh, someone's getting yelled at.
Granted, it was just the main cab of the Doom Turtle, so it didn't have the two outermost tracks, which is like a significant amount of weight. But still, the main cab is 60 tons flying off your trailer into the ditch, so that's terrifying. Obviously, the Doom Turtle, completely fine. The paint got scuffed, no big deal. Get it back on the trailer, they get it where it's going. Now, here's my issue. I know for a fact that there are pictures of the Doom Turtle in a ditch somewhere in Georgia. I need those pictures. Someone has them on their cell phone. This happened in like 2017, 2018, 2019, somewhere around there. I know one of the drivers in that convoy took a picture of it with their smartphone. It has to have happened. I want that picture for history so I can get it to the museum, okay? Get me that picture.
What are you waiting?
Chat, if one of you happens to have access to this information, one of you in the comment section has access to this information, you know what to do. Send it the Fat Electrician's way. I'm gonna help signal boost this in what ways I can.
For Chinese New Year, go, go, go.
Sorry, so that's it. That's the end of the story. They get it to the National Infantry Museum, and that is where it is on display today. So in conclusion, that's my favorite tank for literally no reason other than it's completely ridiculous and I think it's funny. Literally from its inception, it was just designed to be a giant middle finger. The enemy told America, hey, you can't drive your tanks through here, and America said, hold my defense budget and watch this shit, and this is the monstrosity that they came up with, okay? I don't know if you can give a tank steroids or even test a tank for steroids, but if you can, test that one first. Now, is it unfortunate that it never saw combat? Yeah, absolutely. It's cool to think about if it did. However, that serves to highlight one of the most important lessons that I teach on this channel, and that is that the only thing scarier than engineers and defense contractors with an unlimited budget is a bunch of infantrymen on the ground with time on their hands, because that's what actually gets shit done. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack, bang, out.
Hey man, what about rednecks with an endless supply of beer and dynamite?
Man, only the government could lose a 200,000 pound tank for 27 years, currently still be missing 6 nuclear warheads, and then tell me how dark I'm allowed to tint the windows on my car.
Exactly. Oh, I hate that. They get super angry about that. That is, next level. Those in glass houses, am I right? Wow, that was amazing. First off, if you haven't, go ahead and check out the Fat Electrician. Go ahead and check out him and his other channel, the Fat Files. If you want more rants like this, wink wink, go check out the Fat Files. Those are some next level videos. I love that. I hope he gets back to some more rants pretty soon. This was wild. Tank actually just snuck for 27 years. That's wild. I wonder how much of a headache this single tank caused with the amount of paperwork and meetings this would have spawned. Like, oh my god. And if you know where this picture is or the information. I don't need it, but you know who does need it? Fat Electrician, so he can donate it to that museum. Absolutely. This is awesome. I guess, what is it? The TOG, the really long tank as well. I would be very curious if the Fat Electrician is just going on rants on tanks and stuff, or rants on military equipment. The TOG, I feel, could be a very funny video. The really long boy. This is awesome. This is really cool to see 2 videos in a week, especially because the last one was pretty long, and I absolutely loved it. It was a very good story. Thank you, Fat Electrician. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Let me know what you're thinking. I also know I had chat up out there on the beginning of this, kind of getting some feedback if you'd be interested in having chat visible on the videos or not. So definitely comment your feedback in the comment section down below as well. And thank you all for watching. Hope you're having yourself a pleasant day wherever you're at, and I'll see you in the next one.